How's everybody? My name is James Felton Keight. I'm here running for U.S. Congress in the 13th District, and we're at a real estate forum here in northern Manhattan, hosted by our incumbent and a large coalition of chambers of commerce, mostly from East Asia, to talk about the broader expansion of real estate, and as some will call it, gentrification in our area. And so we've got more than a few community members here today to speak about their perspective, what they've seen over the course of the past few years in the changing neighborhoods that make up northern Manhattan. Those are Inwood, Washington Heights, Harlem, northern parts of it, and the like. And so we're just going to gather some perspective from people here in the community today. Please introduce yourself.
My name is Lena Melendez, and I'm from the Riverside, Edgecomb Neighborhood Association.
Okay. So Lena, welcome, number one. Yeah, I'm glad that you made it here from your neighborhood association to participate in this real estate conference here at Columbia Medical School. What are some of the issues or some of the primary concerns of yours with regards to real estate and foreign direct investment here in the area?
Well, one of my major concerns is what this will trigger the already unscrupulous, greedy landlords that are doing all sorts of things to push people out of their rent-stabilized apartments.
Sure.
And this, I believe, will trigger a hyper-gentrification on steroids. And this community will go the route of Williamsburg.
Okay. And so what have you seen? So this conference in particular is about the future investment, future foreign direct investment. Are there any precedents for your concerns that you've seen over the past few months, few years? Anything? Any projects in particular?
There was an investor trying to develop in Upper Manhattan, and the community came out and really opposed that project. The community board listened, and the local politicians supported us, and it was we had a favorable outcome. But there are more. This is just more of the same, and we're going to have problems. We already, my neighborhood association, the RENA, carries on rent clinics on Thursdays, and we see the struggles that people have, the outrageous ways in which the landlords are now trying to push people out.
Yeah.
Not accepting the rent checks, new people coming in to the neighborhood, giving them, the preferential rent leases, and then raising the rents over $1,000 the next year without really them being informed about that.
Sure.
So those are the things that really concern me, because that stuff, I've already been seeing that stuff. And I myself am a victim of trying to be pushed out right now. My landlord and I are in court.
Yes.
And so it's, I can't talk about it, but it's, it has to do with that push for gentrification. I am in a rent control apartment.
Yeah. No, I totally understand. I think there are multiple people here with similar concerns. I think that as growth happens, or business growth happens, that things that happen in chambers of commerce style conversations aren't also having community style conversations, and so there's no familiarity with the growth. People aren't involved, and ultimately what's so awesome about these neighborhoods gets lost when the people get lost. Thank you.
Also, a lot of these meetings aren't publicized.
We didn't find out about this one until yesterday. Mm-hmm. Or I did.
Right.
How long did you know about this meeting?
I found out about it yesterday.
Okay. Hi, so we're here with Maggie Clark, a longtime resident of Inwood and a member of Inwood Preservation.
Yep.
How do you want to introduce yourself?
Well, I've lived on Riverside Drive since about 1979. I started the Ring Garden, which is a big community garden, in 1984, which is at Dykeman and Broadway. And last year I started Inwood Preservation. And the reason I did was because the Economic Development Corporation was having meetings of the public, and they were saying, oh, well, we're thinking about changing zoning, maybe this, maybe that, and they were asking our opinion. But by the end of the first meeting that I'd gone to, I realized that this was a sham, and I had tried to talk to Adonis at that point to tell him, to ask him, well, what do you think about the infrastructure impacts? I pulled him aside. We were going to talk. I explained what kind of infrastructure impacts I meant, what kind of environmental impacts. If you start building huge buildings, lots of them, that there's a lot of impacts there, to the air, to the water, the land, to the people, to the jobs, everything. And I couldn't get him to focus. And all he was saying was, do you know what they're saying about me on Facebook? And
He said that?
Yeah, he said that. And it was like, and I kept persisting, as I do. And
So just to be clear, you're talking about Adonis Rodriguez, your city council member, who's right over there.
Correct.
And you're saying, so as you brought this conversation to him, with the weight of your neighborhood organization, are you saying it wasn't received well? Was it outright ignored? And what do you mean by what they're saying on Facebook?
Well, okay. Actually, I can't comment on what he was seeing.
Sure, okay.
Right? So I have no idea what he was seeing. I was not saying anything. I don't tend to say things like that, or that are negative. I point out truth. I speak truth to power. People don't like that too much. But, I'm a scientist. I have a PhD in environmental science, so I do know what I'm talking about here.
Yes.
And so I was trying to inform him, because they seem to be all jazzed for this change. And they didn't seem to be looking at the adverse impacts that it would cause.
What about to the people and the culture of the area? The diverse culture there, the Dominican culture there, the Puerto Rican culture there, the black culture there, the white culture there.
What about it?
I'm saying, do these changes have a positive effect for these communities that you can identify?
Well, so they're planning on having zoning upzoning anywhere from 9, 11, 14 up to 30-story buildings in an area that is predominantly 6- and 7-story buildings. We have data that shows that 98% of Inwood residential structures are less than, or 7 stories or less, and that's huge. In fact, you can't find another part of New York like that.
Yes.
And so, changing the fabric like this, putting dozens of new buildings in that are 11 stories, 14, all of these, near the 207th Street Bridge, putting up 30-story buildings, near the Broadway Bridge, putting up 27-story buildings. The impact on traffic is going to be immense and permanent. The impact on the businesses that they're going to tear down. In other words, I'm not going to say that Adonis is tearing down buildings, but this rezoning will make it really attractive for all the owners to either, I'm being photographed, hi.
So we're getting a lot of photographs here.
Anyway, so my point is, though, that it'll make it really attractive for landlords who know, gee, I have a 2-story building and I could build 14 stories here.
We need to.
So if I sell, I could get a lot of money. Or if I tear down my building, I could make a nice tall one and make a lot of money.
So thank you for all the extra detail. I think with regards to some of the projects, I guess when you look back over the course of the past 4 or 5 years as these folks have been in office, how would you rate the performance of the real estate infrastructure projects that they've led in this community? Adonis in particular, and also Espaillat when he was in office, and Marisol, they're all sponsoring this conference.
That's true. Many of them have not been in office all that long. So, Marisol and De La Rosa and so forth. And The only thing that I can remember with regard to Adonis,
Adonis and
is
Adriana, yeah.
is with regard to the Sherman Plaza project. And, they were all very gung-ho to have a 27-story building right across the street from Frederick Law Olmsted Park with the cloisters at the top, and the building would be at the same height as the cloisters. And there was quite a bit of a community outpouring about that, and that started the community organizing like I've never seen before in the almost 40 years that I've been living here in Inwood. I've never even seen people at rallies unless it was a political rally right before an election.
Yes.
But this was an issue-based rally, and there were 2 rallies and a march for that. That has done a lot of good in the sense that now there are more people who are understanding what's going on, and they're talking to each other, but we still need to do a better job of making sure that everybody in the community knows, because Facebook seems to be the main way that the word on anything gets out.
It's the main media outlet, and that's particularly why we're gathering this information, is to say that we think what's happening is at a total disregard to the people in the community, and that we will come into your space and speak truth to power and try to hear from the real community members about how their community is changing without taking into regard what they have to say.
My name is Catherine O'Sullivan, and I'm a resident of Inwood. I'm an immigrant. I came over in 1992. I came to Inwood in 1993. I am a citizen. I believe that what belongs to citizens should remain with citizens. So I do not agree with the privatization of our assets, and that is our public library. There's a move afoot to turn libraries into private property, and I am not in favor of that. I am in favor of low-income housing. It's important. We need to build more. There are vacant lots in our neighborhood, and they should be developed. But I am very much against upzoning and demolishing the library. There's no interim arrangements made for library. It provides more than just books. The books are important. It's in the name. Library, books. We want books still. Even if we are moving to digital everything, we still need physical books. The programs it offers, the cooling center in the summer, the warm and shelter in the winter, the computers programs, the English language classes, the story times for the young children to get them to love books.
Can you talk about the
all important.
So can you? So just because she's with a program called the Save Inwood Library campaign, and can you talk about the fact that this library is going to be torn down to build new housing, which is not necessarily affordable, but also what's the availability of vacant lots of this size in the area?
Well, there are 2 vacant lots that I can tell you about. Right beside the library, there's a car wash that was just purchased by somebody who just bought a parking lot up at the northern end of the northern tip of Inwood. There's also the vacant lot right across the street, slightly diagonally beside the stack. That's been vacant for years, and the owner recently passed away, so I'm not sure if the beneficiaries are willing to sell, but it definitely is a lot that's bigger than the library and could provide more housing, low-income housing. As for demolishing the library and building a 14-story tower, well, I'm not sure how the democratic process is operating here, because the request for the proposal says that the developer should assume a zoning of R8, but the current zoning is R7. So where is the democratic process there? And EDC says they want input from the community. Well, the input from the community was very clear that they did not want an upzoning in that section of Inwood.
How many signatures did you gather?
Oh, the Save Inwood Library, it's over 500. I'm not the keeper of the petition, but I know they got 140 more this weekend, and I had a few from my early days collecting signatures, and so I'd say they got about 200 this weekend.
Okay. Well, I definitely know this weekend, but I know in total there are about 4,000 signatures.
55.
Yeah, so nearly
Up to five.
5,000 signatures. Over 5,000, excuse me, signatures to the elected officials that they don't want to give away this public property to a private corporation to build larger institutions, mainly for two reasons. Because you're giving away public property that the citizens own to a private institution, but also when you add more housing to this space, you also have to allocate more funding for transportation. It's going to put more strain on those train lines, but also on the community in general. And so
we need a larger library, not a smaller one.
exactly. So if you're going to add more people to an area, you don't want to get rid of the library. You want to double the size of the library. And I think that goes for public spaces in general, whether it's parks or other places that provide the infrastructure of community. You want to make sure that they continue to exist so that the community does.
Yeah.
But thank you so much for your valuable input. Yes.